What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Around the ACL. It's Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Anthony Ione, coming off a really exciting weekend of the first SuperHole Prelim and our first Shootout Finals. So lots of good stuff to talk about, not to mention a very bougie party that I said I'm happy to be their entertainment. If this is what we get to be here, I'm good for it. So we want to dive into all the details today and also get into some overreactions that we can talk about and close it out with holy hot takes. So I don't even know where to start. I guess we could. It's just there's a lot going on. What was that thing called that went up into space?
Oh, it was part of Jeff Bezos's ship. That was the top of his rocket that literally went into space. It was the actual space rocket capsule. I don't even know what it's called either. It's like the top of the rocket where people actually sit in and during the flight.
That was there. I don't know why it was there, but it was there.
I don't even know how to describe the venue too. I mean, we were literally inside a car garage that had the over under was what? I think someone asked me how much do we think the cars were worth in that building? I was like, I don't know, 30 million, 50 million total. Yeah. I mean, there was Ferraris, Lamborghinis. I mean, you name it. There was nice cars in that venue.
There's also someone standing in front of the cars to make sure you don't take pictures of the cars.
Yeah, you couldn't take pictures of the cars. Not couldn't touch them, no, you couldn't take pictures of them. So it was.
I still want to know what the storyline of is that damn. There's a VW bug in the back. You got all these really nice cars, and then there's this VW bug on the top shelf. I'm like, why is that important?
Yeah, I guess some context maybe is good for everybody listening in. That so the setting of the broadcast this weekend was at the Legends house party. So Legends is is a company that has a partnership with the ACL that is handling a lot of their sponsorship negotiations and talks and relationships and things of that nature. So every year at the Super Bowl, they put on this party and they usually have some form of entertainment there. And so now, since the ACL has this relationship with Legends and they were looking for entertainment, it kind of just became that the broadcast was the entertainment for the party, which actually turned out pretty cool. So this entire, the setting for the broadcast was inside this car garage that is for really high-end cars. And my dogs are now going crazy. This is just a chaotic start to the episode. You have all these really nice cars in the middle of Scottsdale. Yeah. And so this party, we were kind of living inside of it. And then invited to this party are celebrities as well as, potential sponsors and brands and just people with general relationships with Legends as a whole. So my personal, outside of cornhole, my personal highlight on the weekend was getting to see the stars of Breaking Bad. You had Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston just chilling right up against the broadcast court. Just oh, what's going on? We got cornhole going on here? My mind was kind of blown for a second there. Yeah. But it was just
I was talking to you. You're like, is that Jesse? I'm like, wait, which Jesse we talking about? Jesse, Full House Jesse? Or no, way cooler.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so it was just a unique. I guess it was a unique setting, right? Because normally we're used to you go into a convention center space, you set up a broadcast court. It's cornhole players in the, and as fans. But I kind of like the vibe of this. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it just felt like there were fans of the game watching, people that were not cornhole players, right? I mean, I'll never forget. I saw this one guy walk up to the court during Jimmy McGuffin just practicing. And it kind of reminded me of when you take a little kid or somebody to the shoot around portion of an NBA game and the guys are just hitting 12 threes in a row and everybody's mind is just getting boggled. as they're sitting there watching shoot around. This guy had his phone out, and Jimmy McGuffin hit 16 airmails in a row, and I thought this guy's head was going to explode. I mean, he was just on a different planet watching Jimmy McGuffin throw.
Yeah, I totally wasn't expecting. I mean, you had kind of gave us a little feel of what we were going to be walking into, but it definitely wasn't where my mind was going. I was expecting a nice cocktail party, but it was like 3 levels above what I was expecting. And pulling up, to the front of this thing, you've got this row of just like Beamers, Audis, all these nice cars at the valet, and I pull up on my silver Nissan Versa rental car, and I'm like, take care of that, buddy. The valet guy comes over. I'm like, take care of that.
Yeah,
and
put
then,
that right in front.
And then, it was, Kat's like, hey, I'm going to walk you guys in. It's going to be a lot easier. I'm like, oh, and you've got all these like outdoor like fire things going on. I felt like kind of red carpet-ish, there's a bouncers at the front checking you in. I was like, what are we getting into? But yeah, and then when you walk through the front door, it was like you said, bougie.
You skipped the guy live painting a wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's that going to go now? He's like literally painting this massive mural that, I don't know where that goes or what happens
there was like
to it.
A woman painted into that wall, or did you see that? Like she was body. There was a woman all like body painted and like, I don't know. She looked like she was a part of it. I don't know what was going on, but yeah. Then you walk in and you've got, a legit just bar, high-end drinks, some ladies spinning from the ceiling, like pouring champagne out of the ceiling. I'm like, what is happening here? It was not any kind of cornhole event we've been to before, but everyone's pimped out, everyone was like really dressed to the T, a lot of nice shoes. I'm like, oh, this is what's up. I could get used to this. I don't think we can go backwards from here, Trey. We're going to need this kind of thing every time.
It was the first time I'd ever seen Nick Thompson without a hat on.
Yes.
It's very rare. He's definitely a hat guy. You guys made me so nervous though, because so there's all this good food, appetizers and things, and then Anthony and Jeff are like, oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna eat all that. I don't know. I want to take the chances of it's kind of like rich food, blah blah. And I'm like, I ate all of it, you guys. Like, wait a second. Like, what's going on? Why aren't we eating? I'm so confused.
It was like this fancy prawn comes over, and then it's like this sushi grade, like I don't even know what fish it is. And I'm like, man, that just seems really risky. An hour and a half, that just might not sit right.
I ate all of it. I mixed it all up.
Yeah.
The lobster mac and cheese.
I like the potato cake with the caviar on top. That was one of my favorites.
Oh, I didn't get that one. Oh man,
wow.
See, I thought I had all of it. But yeah, I was like, what am I missing? Am I supposed to not eat the food? I don't know what's going on. Why is nobody else eating it?
And then, I think the other cool part was, and this is, before we get into kind of the play and everything, the one cool thing that it was Bloomberg, Bloomberg Sports, Bloomberg Business specifically was on site the weekend, and they're going to be coming out in April with a 22-minute piece on cornhole that's going to air across social and TV, and it's going to be really, really cool. Everybody sat down for interviews. Stacy had an hour and a half interview. I sat down for an hour and a half interview. They even mic'd me up, like walking around the broadcast court.
Is that right?
As the event was going on. So I hope I didn't. I'm trying to remember the other, like, afterwards, like, did I say anything really dumb, like, or did I drop any inappropriate language or expletives? So I hope it wasn't too bad. But yeah, like, I sat down for a long interview, and they got a bunch of players, and Cheyenne and Damon Dennis and Ryan Smith all participated. So aside from the cornhole action part of it, I thought that was something that was really cool that will come out as part of this event as well.
That is really cool and unique, and I think that it's going to help spread the word. It was also funny just walking around. I went upstairs because you could go up the stairs and kind of look down on the broadcast court and the party. It was a really cool perspective. But I ran into these 2 drunk guys, and they're like, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, this is like a cornhole broadcast, like on ESPN. He's like, you're going to be on ESPN. And I was like, you can too, if you just sit on the side of the court. They were like, their minds were blown, and they like came down and they're like on the court, like waving, like, hey, I'm here. And it was just the vibe of the party. Like they were so like, what is going on? And which is so really normal for us, right? It's just like, it's just an average broadcast Friday, like no big deal. So really cool party. But of course, we were the entertainment. We'll talk about the shootout first. This was the finals. We went all the way down to the finals back in Myrtle Beach. But finally, we got to see the end of it. And we got to see Kyle Malone take a win. And I told Kyle after, I said, your interview was so... Did you guys listen to his interview? Well, I know, Anthony, you heard it. Could you hear it, Trey?
Yes. It was really good.
I said, you did such a good job. He had emotion. He thanked his sponsors. Like, he was like a professional post-interview athlete. So big congrats to Kyle Malone. Yep. What were your thoughts on that first match there, Trey?
Yeah, so Kyle getting the win against Jamie Graham. I think one of the big storylines coming into the game was that Jamie Graham was going for the number 19. That was going to be the title that would put him standalone, no longer tied first all time. So he was coming in as someone that had a chance to make some really strong history. But Kyle also had some history on his end. He had 3 total ACL titles, but all 3 of them were doubles national events, right? He had never gotten that singles title. And Michelle, you kind of alluded to it, that he mentioned it in his interview. He got a little emotional about it, but it kind of was because he was emotional simply because he had never reached that peak before in his career when it comes to being an individual player. So it was cool. It was really cool to watch Kyle Malone. The game I thought was incredible. I actually went back and rewatched it, start to finish, and the back and forth was just an amazing cornhole match. And for those, that didn't get to watch it, I encourage you to watch it on the ESPN app. And then after 30 days, it'll be available on the ACL Digital Network. But it was an amazing masterclass of 2 players playing at an incredibly high level and just dueling back and forth. I mean, nothing. Jamie Graham should be ashamed of nothing. He was, played at a really high level, and it just came down to, I think, literally maybe one bag. And that one bag was the layup. What was that, in around 8 or 9, where the bags end up all being bunched up, and Jamie Graham,
he conceded the bag.
He conceded the bag, and if he had just laid up, it would have been a wash, assuming the bags didn't fall. He chooses to kind of play a little conservative and just say, I'm just going to give up the point. And ultimately, does that lead to, him losing? He ends up losing by, I think, 5 or something like that. But that's because the last round just got out of hand with big push shots and everything like that. But ultimately, what I'm getting at is it was neck and neck all the way. And it came down to just maybe one decision. There was an airmail earlier in the game that, Kyle Malone, if he doesn't go for it, does that not end up panning out? It just overall, I loved the back and forth. And I think this is just going to continue to help build confidence with Kyle Malone. But I also thought it was really just reassurance, because like I said, it's one thing to really dominate at the conference and the regional level, but for him to come out on the biggest stage and beat elite 2 different times, because if you think about it, he had to be elite in Myrtle Beach to get to the finals. And then when I listened to that live stream, Jeff and you, Anthony, were both saying, look, if we ended right now, and Wally was saying the same thing, if we ended right now and we played the finals today, this being in Myrtle Beach, you guys were saying Kyle probably wins it because he was so hot today. And so a lot of people were saying, well, you give Jamie Graham the benefit of time, he's going to be able to come out and kind of outclass in a way Kyle with the ability of being overly consistent, but that's not what happened. So for Kyle to be able to be elite, I think that he's just shown that maybe he's ready to really make that jump this year and become an elite level singles player.
Yeah. Anthony, what were your thoughts and being able to call that match as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was unique in that, I mean, we almost have to go to before the match. We were living this Airbnb life. Typically you're gonna take a tournament right into the broadcast. This wasn't the case. We had 8 players that flew in to Arizona for this match, so there wasn't, the immediate lead in right into a broadcast. So it was kind of cool. We were spread out across a couple houses. I was at a different house than the players, but Meesh, we were able to kind of come over, and we had we kind of hung out for 2 hours with some of the players at the house before the match. So we were talking about strategy and, what do you think going in? Bags was really important. We learned the players had practiced earlier that day. Boards weren't playing as fast as we thought they were going to be. They all were saying, wow, I was actually surprised at the speed of the boards. Everybody seemed to be liking the speeds. It kind of caused some decision-making on bags.
Didn't Jamie Graham say, Anthony, that he wished he would have brought maybe even a faster bag?
Yeah, he had only brought the Vengeance, and he was like, hey, I wish I had brought, my other faster bags, at least just to see how they were playing. So he was pretty committed to that. And then we had some color things going on. Malone came out with black bags. The boards were black. So you can't have black on black. So then he had to go to a backup set. He really wanted to throw the baby blues, but then Jamie Graham had baby blues, and then there was that. And then he had to he borrowed a set of pink bags, right, from someone at a local. Anyway, so it's a good thing he actually had those. Yeah. So the bag thing was kind of fun. I mean, even down to the end, Trey, you were saying that, Rosie was maybe having a little gamesmanship with Cheyenne on declaring what bag color she was going to do. But that was really cool just to have a couple hours to talk to the guys. And really, Ryan Smith, the way he described how he wanted to approach the game played out perfectly. He just said, hey, I'm going to come out and play our normal dirty game. But as soon as we have a lead, we're running bags. I want to run that lead all the way to the end because I feel confident in my whole game. I feel like I can throw 27 bags in a row right now. So, and that's kind of how that one played out. They kind of got out to that big 6-0 lead right out of the gate, and he implemented that plan right away, and they just started running bags. I don't think he missed a bag until that new commercial kind of break at that midpoint, and then he came out of the commercial, and I think he missed his first or second bag. But yeah, I mean, if we were talking about Kyle and Jamie, the key to that one for me was the board speed. I did not expect Kyle Malone to come out and lay that beautiful little level one. He did that round after round after round. I mean, I talked to him after because on the broadcast, I was like, Kyle is not a guy who's going to come out and block. He's going to out PPR you. He's going to run bags. So I asked him after, and he was like, man, the speed just felt so perfect for me to just throw a level one on my normal bag, and it played out perfectly. He got a 5. I think it was a 5 spot in round 1. Jamie just missed a little bag out to the right. And you said it, Trey. For me, it was 2 bags that was the difference in the whole match. Yes, that first round, he missed that kind of step out, collect around the left, gave up a 5, but then he came back the very next round, got a 5 himself. So I'm just going to kind of wash that one out. He had a push somewhere mid to late game, like maybe 6th or 7th round, that came up way short, and that was a big bag for him and set the tone for the next one where he had that short airmail. So those 2 misses, the short push, the short airmail, was really the difference in the game for me. You're talking 40 bags. It happened so fast, and that really was. But I think Kyle Malone's speed control and that level one unexpectedly kind of blew me away, and I think that was the difference in the game. And he was hitting his airmail. Gosh, he was fine. I mean, he must have hit his first 3 in a row. So that was the key to me, was that level one and the airmail, hitting the airmail success on the backside.
Agreed. All right, then we had women's. We had Cheyenne Bubenheim and Rosie Streaker. Cheyenne did take the win there. She was throwing the carpet bags, but I don't even know if she was necessarily going to throw those. She had to because her other bags were the same color as Rosie's, so she didn't have a choice. But it did work out in her favor. So what are your thoughts on that match, Trey?
Yeah, I think my biggest concern coming into it was that Cheyenne would throw carpet and she wouldn't be able to be as consistent. And at least for now, that wasn't the case. I was wrong. I mean, she came out in the middle of the game, hit 16 bags in a row, right? 4 rounds in the center of the game, and that ended up being the difference. Early, there was a little bit of back and forth. It was close, and then she went on a stretch where she just wouldn't let Rosie stay in the game. And then once she built that lead, a little bit of back and forth at the end, fine, but Cheyenne ends up winning it. So I don't know. I think I'm being stubborn here. I still don't think it's the right choice long term to be going with carpet, right? And part of it is because the strategy that I saw with Cheyenne was one that she normally implements. It's one of she's gonna run bags for most
Bingo.
of it. And if
Bingo.
something comes up short, great. It comes up short. I have a really strong push that I can deal with. It would almost be different for me. I recognize the fact that Cheyenne Bubenheim has arguably one of the best push shots out there. She just does. Follow through on a blocker, pushing in her own bag. She's one of the best in the world, right? So I could understand if she was transitioning to a carpet, even if she didn't want to roll, right? Even if she wasn't trying to get that level of action, if her plan was every single round, I'm going to set up a blocker so that I can follow through on it every single time, and that's going to frustrate my opponents. But in reality, that's not what I really saw. I don't know about you, Anthony, but I didn't see a strong difference in between the carpet style strategy that she adopted versus her all slide 2.0 strategy. It looked very similar to me. So if I'm doing that almost exact same strategy, what am I benefiting by throwing carpet? In my mind, not much, because you're going to lose a little hole friendliness when it comes to throwing that carpet back. Now, this whole point is moot because she was able to throw 16 bags in a row, carpet or no carpet, it didn't matter. She was that locked in. So in that regard, I am very happy for Cheyenne Bubenheim because she maintained that level of confidence, which I know, Michelle, you were a little bit worried about coming in for Cheyenne. She was able to throw a lot of bags in the row. But I think based on what I saw, to me, there's not a whole lot of need for her to go away from an all slide 2.0 or go to a carpet because she's throwing a similar style of play. So in the end, she's still great. She won uncomfortably. We asked her afterwards, Anthony, how she was feeling. She said, I told her, I didn't like it, Cheyenne. She goes, and her exact words for me were, I didn't like it either, right? Which means she knows she's still uncomfortable with that bag in her hand. But I think, let's take it even big picture. An athlete at the highest level on the biggest stage played a game uncomfortably and still won. And if anything, that just means that Cheyenne is one of those all-time greats in the sport. She's able to win, even if it isn't pretty, even if she's not comfortable, she's able to still put on a really strong performance.
Absolutely. And I was worried. She did say that her confidence wasn't as high as it normally is. And I wasn't sure how that was going to play out. But I think a big part of that was Rosie was getting some misses. And I feel like, I know for me at a very, very small level, if my opponent is missing, my confidence goes through the roof. I'm like, all right, we got this. So I wonder how much that played into getting her confidence up in the middle of that match. But what do you think, Anthony?
Man, I think you guys nailed it, Trey. Your analysis is exactly where I was coming from. She didn't have to implement anything different. She was doing what she normally does. She was throwing the bag just harder to accomplish the same thing, but she was running bags. So why would Cheyenne want to go to a carpet bag? One, obviously, it's going to be easier to block. It's going to be easier to play that defensive game. Okay, but we all know that. But maybe she's looking to get a little bit more action out of her bag. Maybe she's realizing, hey, when I step out, I don't have the right to lefts like everybody else has to add that shot. Rolling bags, I just don't, okay, maybe sometime in the future. I don't think that's why she's coming out with a carpet bag right now to roll. I think she's going to be throwing a carpet bag to improve her blockability, make it a little bit more difficult to push through, because we know when you put a carpet bag in front of the hole, it's a lot harder to push through that thing than a GC or a 2.0 or whatever else she's throwing. And then adding those shaping of shots, the ability to kind of cut around stuff. But she didn't need it. Like you were saying, Meesh, the misses were there. There were unforced errors from streakers. She never had to implement any of that game. So I think she was just like, all right, I'm going to keep running bags. I'm scoring off of just running bags. I don't need to do anything crazy here. Ultimately, at the end of the day, streaker just couldn't match what she's been doing the last month or so. Running back, she just didn't have that, and it just kind of made an easier win for Cheyenne in that one.
Absolutely. All right, and then we had our doubles match, Ryan squared, Ryan Smith and Ryan Wiedenfeld, a win against Damon Dennis and Jimmy McGuffin. Obviously, a really emotional win for the Wiedenfeld family. It was really sweet to watch his family take in that win. But what were your thoughts, Trey?
Yeah, emotional, kind of like a bittersweet, happy, sad type of moment. I mean, it was just the first thing I did when that game got over, I immediately looked over at the Wiedenfelds in the first row, and all of them just emotional. I mean, it was not like anything I'd kind of been a part of directly, kind of in that moment. It was really special. I mean, we lost, we lost a player a few years ago in Rocky, and that had its own level of, we were close to Rocky, right? So we got to experience what loss was like in that regard. But it was, we were preparing for it. Like we knew something was not right. And after a while, it was like we had a way to kind of embrace it and also build it up and celebrate. And this felt like so sudden, and we weren't directly a part of the Wiedenfeld family. So it was like this instance where we were watching a family go through the ups and downs of something emotional like that we weren't directly a part of. So it was just it was tough, but at the same time, it was inspiring to kind of watch how the family handled it and how Ryan played. And I think, you tied into the strategy of the game for Ryan Smith to come in with all this prep work and all these things that he wants to do. And then for the game to start off with Ryan Wiedenfeld putting up 6 points, it was like, I don't know. To me, I thought more about that. It just felt, it kind of gave me goosebumps a little bit, right? For him on that stage to come in and score a 6 right out of the gate and say, no, I'm gonna go ahead and take control of this game, right? Like leave no doubt. And just to be able to be the one, like Ryan Smith is supposed to be the guy that kind of carries that team in that moment because it's emotional and it's hard and it's difficult. But for Wiedenfeld to be able to do it himself, I think yet again just speaks to how strong of a 16-year-old kid that Ryan Wiedenfeld is. So I just that's what sticks with me more about it. I mean, we could go into strategy of a game, but I think the story of the game for me was a family and that type of situation coming out, and Ryan Wiedenfeld scoring 6 points to start the game to essentially, in my mind, determine the entire result.
I was just hoping he didn't look over to the left before they interview at the end, because I can't imagine being able to then answer questions. I was like, just look forward, Ryan. Just look forward. Just get these questions done. But it was. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, Wiedenfeld was just talking about his first bag, right? He was like, I just want to get that first bag in the hole, and that's exactly what he did. And he just kept running. I mean, 6 out of the 6 points right out of the gate, first round. McGuffin gave him 6. They were in cruise control from there. And I was talking about Ryan Smith. He said, as soon as we get a lead, we're going to run bags because we can. Yeah, we're throwing these carpet bags, but we can run bags with the best of them. Never looked back. I mean, it was kind of similar to the Rosie Streaker game where they didn't really have to do anything crazy. They didn't have to implement plan dirty game or throw some amazing roll bags. They just were able to run bags all the way to the end. I got to say, Ryan Smith, I've been a fan of him as a player. Ryan Smith is a legit human being. This guy is, and I really got a glimpse at that this weekend, just at what kind of a person he is, how he was there for Wiedenfeld, the family. I mean, he's out there hanging out with the family, doing escape rooms, and just being a good role model for Wiedenfeld and talking highly of how his game is and highly of him coming into this. And man, I'm a big fan of Ryan Smith on and off the boards. And I think that he was a perfect partner for Wiedenfeld to get through this one. And I think it showed on the board. And I don't think anyone was going to beat him there. I mean, I would love to go back and count. I think Ryan Smith hit every single bag going up to the broadcast. And then Wiedenfeld had just this middle stretch where he just couldn't miss. So they were going to be tough for any opponent in that one. But they were going to win that one no matter what. I feel like it was just meant to happen. So I'm pretty happy about how it turned out.
Yeah, just one thing that I thought was a good analogy to that, and I mentioned this, actually had a chance to talk with the Ryan Wiedenfeld's mom after the game, and just talked to her a little bit, and I said the partnership between Ryan Wiedenfeld, take kind of the emotion aside for a second, but just strictly like a partnership type of ordeal is, I think Smith and Wiedenfeld are really going to mimic what we've seen over the past few years from Eddie Grindersleeve and Caleb Batson. you have this really talented young kid who's got everything as far as an arsenal of shots go, but he's a kid, right? I mean, a kid playing among all these different professional players. But then you have this just steady, consistent, level-headed mentor in Eddie Grindersleeve that's kind of able to make a really successful partnership. Someone who's really positive, someone that's able to get the best out of a partner and of someone that's not only developing as a cornhole player, but developing as an adult, right? I mean, that's a really key relationship. And then when you make that analogy to Ryan Smith and Ryan Wienfeld, like, look, we're going to say all the nice things in the world about Ryan Smith. I think there's a case to be made that Ryan Wienfeld may be better than Ryan Smith, right? And we can go back and forth all day debating that, whether or not. But the point of the matter is, Ryan Smith is not just playing a cornhole type of partnership here. I think he's playing a mentor type of role in having that similar setup to what Eddie and Caleb had. And I think in the long run, that's going to do Ryan Wienfeld a whole lot of good. And I think eventually we may look back at the development of Ryan Wienfeld and say, wow, that was a really amazing partner to have in his rookie season as a pro.
Yep. 100%.
I couldn't agree more. And I asked Ryan Smith, I think that's one of the questions I asked him on the broadcast was like, how have you been mentoring Wiedenfeld? And he's like, he's so humble. I haven't. He's just good in his own. But I don't think Ryan Smith realizes the energetic mentorship, even if he's not specifically saying, like, here's what we need to do. Like, just his energy, I think, is very powerful for a young 16-year-old player. So I love that team.
Yeah. All
right, let's move into the SuperHole. A little less serious, but a lot of fun. We had our first SuperHole. The winners of the SuperHole were Justin Turner and Damon Dennis. And my favorite part of this was we were waiting to do the post interview during the commercial break, and I looked over at Justin Turner, and he had this big smile, like he's kind of like, wow, that was really fun. And I go, Justin, you got the bug, don't you? And he's like, I think I do.
Yeah. He was a good dude.
So really, really fun. What were your thoughts on that one, Trey?
Yeah. I thought Justin Turner was a great competitor, a great personality for SuperHole. I personally liked it. I'm a Red Sox fan, so for the Red Sox to get a title already this season is a win in my book. So, but in all seriousness, I think it was funny because as the night went on, right, I think it's cool maybe to get your perspectives and then get my perspective, because I had a different perspective for this broadcast, right? Normally I'm prepping, I'm going through walkthroughs, I'm doing all these different things to get ready for it. I catch maybe a glimpse here and there of how the players are playing, but I'm getting ready to go on air. Me, that wasn't the case this time, right? Because you guys were on air doing a great job. Me, I had a chance to kind of see all the celebrities warm up. The funniest thing, and I remember going up to you guys beforehand, and you guys were taking what I was saying for granted, and I looked dumb, but I went up and said, there is no way Ryan Fitzpatrick is losing to SuperHole. No way he is losing. Because I'm telling you guys, in practice and in warm-ups, Ryan Fitzpatrick is sitting back there slinging 10s.
Wow.
I got to tell you, though, because you told me that, and because Tyler Lockett had a tumble bag, and that was the first match, when I was preparing my questions, I didn't even consider Lockett winning. I was like, oh, Trey told me, yeah, all right, just get my questions ready for Fitzpatrick. Like, there's no way they're going to, I saw Tyler Lockett's bag. It's not great. This is done deal. So then when it didn't happen, and they were messing with my earpiece, and the game ended, I was like, uh-oh. I was not ready for them to win.
Yeah, I just thought, just watching the celebrities warm up, it just looks like Fitzpatrick was going to be dialed in. I mean, but you have to play the game, right? You don't just get to warm up and we crown a champion, right? I mean, look what happened to Terry Kirby last year at the World Championships. Everybody thought him and Rosie Streaker, there's nobody that's going to run through them, right? Nobody. Right. Nobody's going to give them a shot. But that's why you play the game, right? So they play it, and Lockett did everything that he needed to. Everything. He stayed down the center. He laid in the center of the board. He didn't miss a ton of bags off the left and right. I mean, it was just, he congested the hole. The thing that I think hurt Ryan Fitzpatrick is I think he either needed to flip the bag over or throw it just a little bit harder, because he played right into Lockett's success. And that's, if I can block up the center of the board it's going to be hard to slide anything in, and it'll be a point here, a point there, and it is what it is. And Cheyenne Renner did Cheyenne Bubenheim did the rest of the work on her other end. So, like, I think maybe if Fitzpatrick flips the bag over and throws a little bit more slick side, that may help. But regardless, Lockett was just down the middle, down the center, and it was just really cool to watch that. I think the other cool dynamic was maybe Jock Peterson and Justin Turner. You could tell that they were friends. You could tell that they knew each other. They were having a good time. But Jock seemed like he was having a good time. Justin Turner was like, I'm having a little bit of a good time, but I'm going to win this. Like,
I'm trying to win.
There was a little bit different level of focus from Justin Turner that I thought was really cool. So, but in the end, I thought it was, it's just cool to see, two, or really all four competitive guys really good at their sports and just be able to compete at cornhole. But I thought Turner's pretty good. I think he's going to have a shot. He'll have a shot at that championship event, assuming he can go. He'll be kind of in season there. So depending on how the team is doing, right, if it lines up on a day where they have a break or something like that, maybe they'll be able to make something happen. But in the end, I think it's going to be interesting.
I think he wants to make something happen. It's just a matter of can it. But, I think he really wants to go and do it. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was the commentary part of it, right? Take your analysis hat. Take your telestrator finger, just throw that out the window. You don't need any of that for the SuperHole, right? It's literally just having a good time. There's not going to be you can't call any shot predictions because those guys are just trying to get it on the board. You know what I'm saying? So really you just had to have some fun with it. But like you said, Lockett, it was this ugly tumble bag, but that guy could hit the center of the board and somehow it always landed stick side and it would just die right in the middle of the board. And these guys, Fitzpatrick throwing 10s in warmups, and even Turner having trouble in that last game. You put a bag in the middle of the board, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh crap! Now what do I do?" Yeah, I think calling using the slick side of that bag a little bit more would have been a big deal or a big improvement for Turner. But he hit a couple airmail going over the top of those blocks. I was like, okay, I agree with you, Trey. I think Turner, with the double D alongside him, they could go all the way to the end. I mean, I saw that guy throw 4 bags in warm up, and I'm like, oh, he has a pretty nice bag. He was the only one with a consistent. It's not necessarily flat, but you get a predictable movement on the board because it is rolling in a flat plane. It's not flat to the earth, but it's rolling rotating in a flat plane, and I think that played perfectly into his game. And he actually had, I think, the best energy too. Lockett was pretty fun. But Turner just seemed to be enjoying it more than everyone else. So I'm happy with that one turn out, how that one turned out as well.
Yeah, but I think we did learn a lesson from Lockett, right? And that is if you block in the center or can lay a bag on the board, you are going to cause chaos. You're going to completely flip the game upside down because, like you said, he struggled in the finals. I think Lockett may have outscored Turner in the finals by all those blocks. But the issue is, over 2 rounds, Damon Dennis scored 15 points on Cheyenne Bubenheim. When does that ever happen? He scored a 10 and a 5 in back-to-back rounds. I mean, that just doesn't – you don't get that to happen. I mean, I believe that the final score was less than a 15-point differential. So what I'm kind of getting at here is, I mean, I honestly think that, if Cheyenne Bubenheim has a similar game she had in the semifinals or how she played the Pro Shootout Finals – we may be talking about Tyler Lockett winning this whole thing, even with one of those tumble bags, right?
No doubt.
I think the key is if you're a celebrity or if you're a pro playing with one of these celebrities, the key is if you can just find a way to get them to sit in the center of the board and then you do the work, you're going to find a way to be successful.
Yeah, I don't know if telling them to throw a block is the easiest thing in the world, though.
No, but did Cheyenne help that by throwing a carpet bag?
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I know some pros may go, let's throw something a little bit faster so it may go in the hole more. I may say, what if you came out there and let's find the stickiest bag we can, and the pro throws slick side the entire time and have the celebrity hope that they get like a sticky bag that lands in the center of the board. I mean, there's going to be some more strategy coming about in these SuperHole prelims.
That's valid. It's valid. All right, let's go into Overreaction Monday. I'm going to read something. You let me know if this is an overreaction or not. The first one being that Ryan Smith is the best round limited player of all time.
Yeah, I do not think it's an overreaction. I really thought about this over and over again. And, what does it qualify to be, a round limited player? And it really has to be with consistency of winning. And I think the only other person that can come close is Jamie Graham, right? He made the finals of doubles in a pro shootout. He's kind of 4 for 4 when it comes to round limited play. He's in pro shootouts. He's got, 2 singles and 2 doubles, but he's never won a championship event.
Right.
If I'd given a championship event to Jamie Graham, maybe I put him over the edge of Ryan Smith. But Ryan Smith won a pro invitational alongside Cheyenne Renner at that point, right? So that was a round limited format. So he's won at certain times. He's now won a bunch. I think it's a toss-up between him and Jamie Graham, but I'm going to lean Ryan Smith here for now.
Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, I was trying to pull up some actual data here. I don't think I'm going to get to it real quick, but I want to say Ryan, this is his 4th. I want to say he has 2 doubles and 2 singles shootout wins. So there's 4. Don't quote me on that, but it's right around there. But like you said, Jamie Graham is real close. Brett Guy, I think, is close just because of the prelims and the championships. But yeah, I agree. I think there's an argument there. And the fact that he's doing it with different partners, he's doing it in doubles and singles. It's not just like a one-sided thing. I would have to agree. I don't think that's an overreaction right now, Meesh.
All right. How about Kyle Malone as a top 5 player?
Yeah, right now, not an overreaction. I mean, I got to give it to him. I don't know what else you want to do. You make it all the way to the Pro Shootout Final. You beat a top 5 player, guaranteed top 5 player, and that top 5 player did not throw poorly. This wasn't a Jamie Graham collapse that led to a Kyle Malone win. This was a Jamie Graham throwing at a high level and Kyle Malone taking it from him. I am running out of excuses to leave Kyle Malone out of this top 5, top 10, whatever we want to make it. Kyle Malone's the real deal right now, not an overreaction.
Anthony?
The top 5, I'm still having a little hard time with. Top 10, I am on board with that. I mean, let's go to conferences. You've got this deep Florida State. You've got the Tanner Halberts in there. You've got the Hamiltons in there. Both of those guys are on my top 10. Malone is out there winning conferences with these guys in it. So I am all about signing up for Kyle Malone as a top 10 player right now. Top 5 is tough. You can't deny what he's been doing lately, but I do it again. Just do it maybe one more time for me in a national. Maybe sneak out something in doubles where you're carrying humans and you show that you are a beast. And then I could jump on that. But top 10 right now isn't crazy for Kyle Malone. I'm going to say overreaction for top 5.
Anthony's tough. All right, Cheyenne Bubenheim is still the best female in the world, even throwing carpet.
Man, the thing is, I almost want to say overreaction, but I have to put somebody in her place, right? Yeah. I have to say, no, Cameron Belvin is better. No, Connie Altice is better. No, Sam Finley is better. And that is going to be tough. I still think I'm going to do it anyway. I still don't like Cheyenne Bubenheim throwing carpet, right? I think she had a really strong performance. I am going to say overreaction. And if I have to pick somebody, it's like if I take Cheyenne Bubenheim at her best throwing carpet and for maybe Cameron Belvin at her best throwing non-carpet, I'm probably going to take Belvin, maybe even take Yeti, maybe Sarah Cassidy. So I'll say overreaction.
Okay. Anthony?
I don't know. If you asked me this before the weekend, I would have said, okay, in order for me not to overreact, I need to see Cheyenne Renner play the hottest female bagger in the world right now, Rosie Streaker, and win with a carpet bag. That's what I need to see. And that's what she gave us. So,
yeah, but she, like we said, Rosie didn't throw her where she was throwing. So I don't know. That's difficult.
Win's a win. A win's a win. I can't fault Cheyenne for that. She came out and won with carpet. So I'm not going to overreact on this one. I think she's the best female in the world, even with throwing carpet right now.
Ryan Wiedenfeld has passed Fisher Hamilton as Rookie of the Year favorite.
Wow. Gosh. That is, I'm going to say a teeny bit of an overreaction. it was a round limited format. Fisher Hamilton has shown it opens in play to 21 traditional. It's like, I almost think they balance each other out, right? Because on one hand, it was a pro event. Fisher has not won a pro event. He's only won opens, but the round limited format maybe offsets that. So they feel kind of even. So with all that being said, and then maybe you could go back and even say that Ryan Wienfeld advanced singles world champion this past year. So like he gets that. I'm still going to say a little bit of overreaction. I like Fisher just a little bit more, but I think this is going to be a fun race to watch throughout the entire season.
Anthony?
Fun race. That is exactly it. I love that. I think we're at a photo finish. I can't say that Wiedenfield is past Hamilton, but I will give him, they are nose to nose right now. So I'm going to say overreaction, but like you said, Trey, how this plays out this year, I'm going to be like glued to the how it plays out. So I'm excited to see the result.
And then Justin Turner and Damon Dennis can win the SuperHole IV championship.
I don't think it's an overreaction. I think they absolutely can win. The issue is, right, you're going to have someone that comes in. I think it's likely that because he wasn't able to play in the championship, that you probably have Shamar Moore playing at some point this season, likely with Trey Birchfield, right? They'll probably requalify. They'll make it back in. And so I'm always having to compare, like if you're going to talk about someone winning that championship event, you have to be someone be able to go through that team. Now, certainly Damon Dennis, Trey Birchfield, I don't think there's a strong, lean either way of who is better right now. Justin Turner against Shamar Moore, I'm probably going to take Shamar Moore, right? So I think they can, not an overreaction, but I'm not ready to pick them just yet.
Okay, Anthony?
Yeah, I said it on the broadcast. I think he can go and win it. I think I'm going to stand by this. The other thing about this guy is I think he walks away from this weekend and kind of grinds at this.
I think he
grinds at this. He just struck me as that kind of guy. He goes out to the PGA stuff down the street the next day, wins like the longest drive out of the whole thing. He's got a big trophy on that. He won some other trophy. So he comes out of the weekend with like 3 championships. But I see that guy going back home and grinding to ensure a SuperHole championship, and I think that'll be the factor.
I think he gets some new boards now. I mean, so he got new bags, he got new Psychos, and he was saying like, "Wow, these bags and boards are totally different than what I have." So I definitely think he ups the quality of his equipment, which definitely helps. But I think you're right. All right, you got a hot take, Trey?
I'm ready. I'm going to go interesting with this one, looking way far ahead. I did say Kyle Malone was a top 5 player. One thing that I found interesting was how strategic, how crafty he was in that. Kyle Malone, I'm hoping, continues to play like this all season. I'm going to say Kyle Malone is in the finals of the Pro Shootout Championship for men's singles. I think he continued. I really liked how strategic in that round limited format that he plays. May not translate to play to 21. It may as well, but I like what he's doing in the men's singles, so he ends up in the finals.
All right. Anthony?
Yeah, I was going to go Kyle Malone as well. Kyle Malone's officially on my top 10 list, so my hot take is going to be along those. I say he's a top 8 guy. The hard part is who the heck do I drop off of that list? Because you look at that 10 and it's tough. So Kyle Malone, I'm going to go top 8. I'm not at top 5 yet, but possible.
Mine's also Malone, so we've got a theme here. I say he wins either singles or doubles at the first national. I think he's on a streak. I think he's feeling confident. I think he sees his potential, and I think that plays out there. So we all have Kyle Malone on our minds. So we'll see how it goes.
He's killing it.
All right, that's all we got time for today. We will see you guys all next time.